Hello everyone and welcome back to another session of Elden Ring PvP and another weapon showcase. Today we're taking a look at Urumi, which is a whip that you can get in Caria Manor. It's on a body on the southeastern ramparts. You have to jump down to it near where the elevator is from the upper level site of grace in the manor. I will put an image on screen now showing the rough map location of where this weapon is located. Getting started with this weapon, it requires 10 strength and 19 dexterity in order to wield, and it weighs 3 units. By default, the skill on the weapon is kick, and as good as that is, I don't really care for it, given that it seems to be a little underwhelming, and I feel like there are better options, but we'll get more into that later on. The base damage on the Keen upgrade path is 225, E scaling in strength, and an S scaling in dexterity. This weapon is phenomenal, in my opinion. I really enjoy this weapon. Now, there's a couple of reasons for it. The biggest reason for it is the R2 attacks. They're very fun and unique. So the normal R2, it's just a standard whip R2. However, when it's fully charged, it thrusts itself out, as you just saw, like a spear would. And there's some great things going on with that. First and foremost, though, the pros of the weapon, first off, the range is misleading. This thing has some great range on it. When you are doing a running R1, whether that's one-handed or two-handed, it doesn't matter. Those running R1s are great for roll-catching people who are running away from you or rolling away from you in a direct line. Running R2s, on the other hand, are great for people who are running or trying to roll towards your side. And those will be able to get them when they don't expect it either, which is really, really nice. Aside from that, even just a standard R2 is good for someone who's trying to roll around on your side or trying to circle strafe around behind you, because we do still have some people trying to circle around for backstabs on occasion. I don't know if they didn't get the memo, but this isn't Dark Souls 1 and it doesn't quite work. But it is what it is. The biggest pro of the weapon, though, is the R2 attack. Shocking no one, it does some pretty good damage, and you can actually make it do even more. So in order to have the attack actually thrust forward like that, it has to be fully charged. So, clearly if you're charging your attack, well, you want to put on the Axe Talisman. And fun fact, the thrust side of that, thrust part of that attack, that actually does thrusting damage. It does piercing damage, which means it works with the Spear Talisman as well. In testing, I've actually hit over 1200 damage with a fully charged R2. It hits on both the initial slash and the thrust. The downside is that can be pretty tricky to do. The opponent has to have high enough poise, and their attack needs to go on long enough in order for you to hit with both hits. And you need to not really trade. So it's very tricky to do, but I've had some luck doing it when an opponent doesn't get their spacing correct and they go for an Ash of War. That's your best bet for dealing damage, that kind of damage, with that charged R2. That said, one other pro of the weapon is that the crouch attack and the rolling attack, they are the same. They also have an equally long reach as your running R1s do, and they come out very quickly. So, if you do a lot of crouching attacks at a distance from someone, just like how a lot of greatsword users will do crouch attacks, that's a great method with this as well. And because it's a good attack with crouching and rolling attacks, that also works very good with quick step and with aggressive play. And when you are doing that and being aggressive with this weapon, one thing to keep in mind is you can't be parried. That's really another phenomenal pro with this weapon. You do still have to use it carefully because you can't really trade hits. You just don't do enough damage to someone's poise for you to be able to gain priority over them when they're using basically any medium to large sized weapon. But it's still something that is a benefit. Not being able to be parried is always great. That said, the cons of the weapon, it really doesn't work good against opponents who have high poise, because like I said, it struggles to break their poise if they're using a weapon that's, you know, of decent size. If they're using a dagger, fine, whatever. You just have to be able to get your attack off and have enough poise to tank their attack, but that's its own thing. The other downside is that the majority of the attacks on this weapon, you know, they're not that piercing attack, and if your opponent has decent defense, well, you're going to struggle a little bit against them. Another thing people do tend to do with this weapon when fighting this weapon is they back off quite a bit, and that's one of the reasons why I put Thunderbolt on the weapon, to give that extra bit of pressure to really sort of encourage them, hey, don't just let the fight end, keep moving. But that's just my experience with the weapon. The biggest con, aside from the fact that it struggles against people with high poise and high defense, is that you can't do a riposte with this weapon. If you do get a guard break, if you do get a parry, you do need a backup weapon in order to actually punish your opponent. If you don't have a backup weapon, you're not really going to be doing anything there. You're just going to, unfortunately, get stuck not being able to punish them. Yeah, you could do a regular R2, and that's all well and good, but it's not as good as it could be. And, come on, we need a little bit of optimal play here, right? Just a little bit. That all said, the only other thing really worth mentioning about this weapon, I would say, would be the fact that it does have that S-scaling and dexterity. It does get a lot of damage from that. It's really one of the highest scalings I've seen on a weapon so far. So usually a lot of weapons, they get the majority of their damage from being upgraded. This one, I'd say it gets a good balance of damage from being upgraded fully and from its scaling. So that's kind of nice. Aside from that, though, there's really not too terribly much else to say about it. It's a fun weapon. I thoroughly enjoy it. I like the Thunderbolt Ash of War on it, like I said, because it encourages people to get in close to you. It stops keeping them from just backpedaling constantly and staying at a distance. Being able to chase people down with it is really fun and satisfying. The crouch attacks and roll attacks are extremely useful. And how do you not love just being able to stack up the Axe and Spear Talisman? If you can land a fully charged hit with that, I'll be honest, no one expects to take over 1,000 damage from a single whip. Yes, we've all seen people using dual whips and spamming the power stance attacks with them. However, you don't really see too many people rocking a standard solo whip and it hitting that high. It just doesn't happen. So this whip's a bit of an outlier as far as the whip class weapons in this game. But that's really about all I've got. So there's one or two more fights after this one that I'll just let play out. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you have any other weapons that you want to see, feel free to leave some suggestions down in the comments. I will say that the Butchering Knife and the Great Ape, those are going to be coming soon. Aside from those, though, I don't have any plans for weapons at the moment, so please do leave some comments with what you guys would like to see, and I will take them into consideration. That all said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you all for stopping by, and for all of the support on these videos that I've been doing with Elden Ring PvP so far. I'm happy you've been enjoying them, and I hope you continue to do so, because I've been enjoying making them. But I've rambled on long enough. Again, thank you all for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time.